We are right in the middle of this massive AI revolution, but there's this huge question just hanging over all of it. How do we make sure these incredibly powerful new tools are actually, well, good? Today, we're going to dig into that fascinating and pretty complex journey from old-school philosophy to building AI we can all genuinely trust.
And right away, here's the biggest problem. For centuries, some of the smartest people on the planet have been debating what good even means. So if we can't agree, how in the world are we supposed to program one single universal ethic into a machine? This is the exact challenge that has developers and policymakers kind of stuck in a gridlock. The main conflict really boils down to two major schools of thought. On one side, you've got utilitarianism, which is all about getting the greatest good for the greatest number of people. But on the other side, you have deontology, which says, nope, some things are just right or wrong, full stop, and certain rights have to be protected no matter what. So do we focus on the outcome, or do we stick to the rule? It's a classic dilemma, and there is no easy answer.
So how do we break this deadlock? Well, the practical answer that's emerged is something called principlism. And what's so clever about it is that it just sidesteps those deep, endless philosophical arguments. Instead of fighting over why something is good, it focuses on getting everyone to agree that it's good. For example, a utilitarian and a deontologist might have totally different reasons for valuing privacy, but they can both shake hands and agree that yes, privacy is a principle worth protecting.
And get this isn't some brand new idea they cooked up for AI. This whole approach was actually borrowed from the world of bioethics. Think about it. Doctors from all over the world with different beliefs and backgrounds needed some common ground to make literal life or death decisions. So they focused on shared principles, like patient autonomy, justice, and doing no harm. It created a practical consensus, and now the field of AI ethics is basically following that same playbook.
Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this look like out in the real world? Well, the most important real-world example of principlism is the European Commission's ethics guidelines for trustworthy AI. These guidelines have become a global benchmark, and they're this fascinating mix of different ethical ideas, all boiled down into 7 key requirements.
First up, human agency and oversight. This is the absolute bedrock. It's the simple but really profound idea that no matter how smart an AI gets, humans have to stay in control. The AI is a tool. It is not the one in charge, period. And if you're thinking about those philosophies we mentioned, this one is pure deontology. It isn't about what creates the best outcome, it's about protecting a fundamental right, our human autonomy. The machine can suggest things, sure, but a human being always has to have the final say. The second requirement is all about technical robustness and safety. This just means the AI has to actually work. It has to do what it's supposed to do, reliably without breaking down. And so importantly, it has to be secure from outside attacks.
And this idea comes straight out of utilitarian thinking. It's pretty simple. A system that fails, gives bad advice, or gets hacked causes a ton of harm, or what philosophers call disutility. It leads to bad outcomes for a lot of people, and from that point of view, that makes it unethical.
Third on the list is privacy and data governance. This is obviously a huge one. It's all about how an AI system handles our personal information, how it's collected, how it's stored, and how it's used. And here we are, back in the world of deontology. This principle treats privacy as a fundamental human right. Your data isn't just fuel for an algorithm, it's an extension of you, and your individual right to control it has to be respected. Requirement number 4 is transparency. We need to be able to peek under the hood, to understand how an AI system gets to its conclusions. We can't have these impenetrable black boxes, not when these systems are making decisions that affect our real lives. What's really interesting here is that transparency actually pulls from 2 different ethical ideas. It's partly about virtue ethics, which is all about moral character, so an honest system is a virtuous one, and it's also deontological, because you and I have a fundamental right to be informed about the processes that affect us. Number 5 is a massive one: diversity, non-discrimination, and fairness. This gets right to the core of the AI bias problem. We've all heard stories about systems trained on biased data that don't just repeat, but actually amplify the inequalities that already exist in society. This requirement is a direct call for justice, which, you guessed it, is often linked to deontology. It basically puts a duty on developers to build systems that are fair and treat everyone equitably. The goal is simple: don't build discrimination into the code. Sixth, we have societal and environmental well-being. This one forces us to zoom out a bit, to think beyond just the immediate user and consider the AI's bigger impact on society and on the planet. This is where we start asking the really big questions. What's this system's effect on democracy, on our communities? And what about its environmental footprint? I mean, the amount of energy it takes to train these huge models is staggering. This is both utilitarian, looking for the best outcome for all of society, and it's rooted in virtue ethics, trying to create a better world for everyone.
And finally, that brings us to the seventh requirement, accountability. You could make a really strong case that this is the most important one of all, because it's the glue that holds everything else together.
Because think about it, without accountability, the other 6 principles are just nice ideas, right? They're just words on a page. This requirement makes sure that there are clear lines of responsibility. If an AI system causes harm, we can't just throw our hands up and blame the algorithm. Someone, a person, an organization, has to be held accountable. So let's just pull all that together for a second. As you can see, this EU framework is this brilliant tapestry woven from all these different philosophical threads. You've got core deontological rights like human agency and privacy, you've got utilitarian goals like safety and well-being, and you have principles based on virtue like transparency. It all comes together to create this practical, real-world guide for building ethical AI.
But here's the twist. Is a framework like this really enough? The scholar Bernstahl, whose work really inspired this analysis, argues that while these principles are a fantastic starting point, they can't be the end of the story. You can't just follow a checklist and automatically get an ethical outcome.
And that leaves us with one last vital question. If a checklist isn't the whole answer, then what is? Maybe true ethical AI is less about the rules we program into a machine and more about the character and the values of the people building it. It's not just about what the AI does, it's about what kind of world we're trying to create with it. What do you think?